What's up, everybody? This is a new episode of TaryntheHype podcasting. We're going to be spoiling Iron Man 3.
Woo!
Spoilers! Get ready for it. It's going to be good times. You excited?
Very excited.
Alright, well, my name is Taryn Schliebe. You can follow me at Taryn. Just kidding, you can't follow me at Taryn because that doesn't exist. You're probably going to start following a girl because it's the girl's name. But anyway, TaryntheHype. Follow at TaryntheHype or follow me at Augie272. You can follow my partner Matt.
You can follow me. Don't follow at Matt because I have no idea who owns that one. But you can follow me on Twitter at KrillinFlip337. That's Krillin with a C. So,
Beats backwards. Can't bend that way.
Whatever.
So welcome back, guys. I know this is our first video podcast, and it's been a long time coming. A long time coming.
Very long time. Very many technical difficulties. So we're finally here and excited to be here.
But no matter what happens, it's gonna be good. So guys, what we're going to be working on soon is that if you want to come and join us now, I did post this over to Twitter as well as Facebook. You can always come into the link and see us posting live. You can post things in the chat room. You can see what everyone's saying. It's a fun little thing on Ustream. We'll also be recording this to YouTube, so I mean, if this isn't live and you're seeing on YouTube, just like it or don't like it, but you want to like it. Alright, so let's jump right into it. Iron Man 3. You saw it. I saw it.
We did.
We were supposed to do the video podcast about a few weeks ago, but we didn't. Sorry about that, guys. Technical difficulties we're having that night. But we're here now. Overall, do you want to do overall? What do you think first? Do you want to go?
Yeah, let's start overall. I think
overall, what do you think?
overall, I was very happy with the movie. I thought they did. The one thing I was kind of concerned about between coming off of Iron Man 2, which was kind of so-so, it was a decent movie, but not super awesome. And then going into the Avengers, obviously Tony Stark was a huge part of that movie. So seeing Iron Man in his own adventure again, I was kind of wondering how it was going to transition back into just a solo Tony adventure, and then having a new director this time and not having Jon Favreau directing. I thought this could either be really good or really bad, and I think it actually turned out really well. I liked Shane Black's direction. He made it feel more like a comic book and more like adventurous than I think either of the other two Iron Man movies did. The first one did a pretty good job capturing that feel of Iron Man and Tony Stark, but this one I felt more like I was reading, like I was watching a comic play out.
Yeah, well, I agree on that completely too. I mean, it was sorry, we're gonna have to pass the microphone back and forth, so you guys have to deal with it. But alright, so I liked the movie. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was well done. I mean, they directed it well. He did pass it on the torch very well for being a new director, especially for being the third one in the trilogy. It's kind of some big shoes to fill. But you know, all the things they were saying you did like, I kind of didn't like.
Really?
I mean, yes, it really did play out like a comic book. It had the story following along, but like the Avengers was the best Hulk movie.
Yeah.
This wasn't the best Iron Man movie. It was the best Tony Stark movie.
Fair enough. I mean, fair enough. They did focus a lot more on Tony as a character as opposed to Iron Man, but I don't know, being a fan of the comics, reading into it, it's like you get more out of it when you realize the human side of him and not just him in his suit being a badass. I mean, he is a badass outside of his suit too. He's one of the smartest people in that universe.
Well, I mean, yeah, because he makes the suit. He is Iron Man. That's what he says all in the entire movies.
But I don't know. I would have to disagree with you, just as a comic book fan and a fan of just the genre, I guess. I kind of have to disagree with you, but I respect your opinion. They did a lot more Tony Stark action and a lot less Iron Man than I was expecting, based on all the trailers and stuff and all the stuff that you see with all the suits and everything. So.
Well, I mean, the one thing that really credited me to that opinion was like, I also didn't like how weak they made the suits look.
How so? What do you mean?
Well, what it is like, at the end, this is a spoilercast. You have to deal with it, guys. Join in if you want to talk on TaryntheHype.com. The link is there. Broadcasting. Now, guys, during the end of the movie, like, he had tons of suits coming out, and they're just getting destroyed left and right. I mean, that's great. It added a lot of action to the scene, but I felt like, I know they weren't finalized copies. They were, you know, all practice dummies. He was just trying out new things. But I feel like it made the suits look like they weren't very important. And then also at the end, like, they weren't very strong. They were falling apart. Like, one just bumped into a wall and it fell apart, like, into pieces. I'm like, Okay, and he wanted to fight Thor. But I mean, things like that, it really kind of bothered me, kind of threw me off. It took me out of like the realism, like what I had my imagination picturing Iron Man, what I thought he was. Um, Now I'm not as much of a comic book reader as you are, but I mean I still have my image of Iron Man. I know like what he can do, what his capabilities are. But I mean it's the fact that like even they took away his chest piece.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy with that at all.
All right, so
hit on all those points.
let's take it back. Let's start where you started. The final climactic battle scene. I thought it was pretty epic. It was kind of cool seeing all those suits come out. Like it was kind of cheesy at the same time though. But I mean, it made for an entertainment. It made for a very highly entertaining finale and a final boss fight, I guess. But I'll agree. Like the suits did kind of, I guess, fall apart pretty easily. But like you said, I mean, it's prototype stuff. It was all kinds of different versions that he had tried out. But the other thing was he wasn't piloting any of them. They were all basically on an autopilot, set to try to neutralize the enemies, all the extremists soldiers. So I mean, they weren't necessarily trying to stay together. They were trying to protect Tony and Pepper more than they were trying to do anything else.
So wouldn't that mean that if they, instead of falling apart, wouldn't them staying together be able to do a better job protecting them?
But they were only falling apart mostly when the people were getting taken out. So I don't know. I still would have to default to say Tony wasn't actively piloting any of them. I mean, there was a whole okay. Mega spoiler.
This is what I want. This is what we wanted. Good conversational pieces. And this is what we're getting to.
All right. So one part that I would definitely say threw me off was when. All right. So in the previews and stuff, you see the part where he is on Air Force One and he has to save all the people who got blown out of the cabin, whatever.
Yeah. It was like how many can we save? It's like 4. It's like, and he's how many are there? 13 or something like that. So.
Yeah. So he of course he saves all of them because he's Iron Man and he's a hero and he's not going to let it.
Spoilers!
Sorry about that.
That's the point, guys. Give it the game.
But, yeah, so he, saves them all and then, flies off after he drops them in the ocean and stuff, and then all of a sudden he just gets hit by a truck and falls apart.
Exactly, yeah.
But he wasn't in the suit. There was nothing there physically holding the suit together other than, fairly weakish electromagnetic bonds. I mean, it's that kind of principle that there's no one in the suit to keep it bound together. There was nothing that's there's no glue in there. It's just all weakly held. It'd be like if you taped up your car and expected it to survive a wreck or something. That's my view on it anyways. I guess that's my defense of it.
Right, I mean, it's just, I guess it's, a thing that we have with movies is I prefer consistency to keep me into the entertainment, into the movie, into what they're trying to portray. And the consistency between this movie and previous movies, I mean, that's what threw me off. I mean, I know it's not really fair to judge this movie compared to other movies, but still so, I mean, people who are fans of Iron Man, they wanted to see Iron Man, bottom line. I want to see Iron Man, that's what I'm going to see, Iron Man. And that makes sense as much as you think about it.
Did you want to say Iron Man in there 1 or 2 more times?
Iron Man is the one I wanted to see, and saying Iron Man when I went to go see Iron Man.
Alright, that's good.
No, it's just that you can never ask Jordan. She didn't really read the comics.
Right.
But I mean, coming out of that movie, she's all like, that was a good movie. I just didn't feel like I see any Iron Man. I get to see him in the suit doing a lot of fighting. And when he was in the suit, it was a split second because the suit broke. She felt let down, and I felt let down too because it was a great movie. Don't get me wrong, I thought it was good. It was well done. It was put together. The comics book were with the more story, and an intertwining for the other elements of seeing who Tony Stark really is. But that's nice. I wanted to cool story, bro.
Yeah.
I wanted to see not Tony Stark. I wanted to see Iron Man. That's what I went there for, and I didn't get that. So.
Fair enough. I mean there's nothing I can say that can counter that argument because it's a valid opinion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, all the things, like you said in the beginning of this, all the things that you don't like about this are the things that I really enjoyed about it.
Exactly.
I like that it was a character-driven story and it was more about Tony as a person as opposed to just who he is in the suit. And that was the whole moral of the story, is that he's more than just a suit.
Right.
That he is his own person.
Right. I've been hearing a lot of that too. I've been reading reviews online or seeing that. And there's no really gray area about this movie. Either people have been black or white. They've been well, and I'm wearing
gray, like us,
and he has gray stripes. But anyway, there is no really gray area. Everyone's either like, well, I loved it because they showed a lot of Tony Stark and no Iron Man, or like, I hate it because they didn't show a lot of Iron Man and like a lot of Tony Stark. So
I don't know.
okay, out of 1 out of 10, what would you give it?
I'd probably give it a 9, maybe a 9.5. I mean, I really, really enjoyed seeing it. And Jess went and saw it with me, and she is not a big fan of going to see superhero comic book movies, but every time we go, she always says we should go more often because I really enjoy them. So it's kind of a weird, like, I don't know, weird situation.
And they're becoming more popular too, so I mean, you'll be able to go to these movies a lot more often than too.
Yeah, but I mean, she really enjoyed it, and I think, if nothing else, it's a really fun movie, and I don't know, I had fun. I liked the story, I liked the characters, I liked the whole direction that they took, and there was parts that were legitimately funny. So I don't know, I just really enjoyed it, and I stand by that. 9, I'd say 9.5.
All right, now 9.5 on the TaryntheHype scale. That is buy as soon as possible. Now, do it. But for me,
except you can't right now unless you're pirating, and don't do that because that's bad.
Well, if you want to make a sequel, which they won't because it won't be Robert Downey Jr.
Probably. But that's okay. I don't care.
Yeah, there's a lot of whatever. Just, oh, I don't have enough money. All right. My personal opinion, I would probably honestly. It's honestly between maybe a 6 or 7 for me.
Ouch. So
that's between bargaining bin potential or rent when it's available. No rush. But I mean, it's still an Iron Man movie. If you like the series, it's still part of that series. So I mean, you're gonna get what you pay for when it comes to renting it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I don't know. I think even if you didn't appreciate the character-driven side of it, I mean, still worth the rental. I mean, at least.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I want to give it that score, because I think it's definitely something that you want to. If you've seen the series before, or even just like comic books and you've never seen any of the previous movies, it's definitely something you want to catch and get your eyes on.
Agreed. Yeah.
Agree to disagree.
All right, so let me talk about a couple things that bugged me.
Great.
And let's see.
Spoiler time.
Yeah. Let's see if this bothered you as much as it did me, since we have such clashing views, being a comic connoisseur versus the regular everyman.
The regular everyman. The
regular everyman. Average
remember,
Joe,
the average Joes win in the end. Spoilers.
Spoilers for another day. So
I wonder why it says no viewers yet.
I don't know. It must be wrong. So the one thing throughout, so going back all the way to Iron Man 1, there was like this very small, almost Easter egg that was plunked in there that they didn't really touch on very much, but the terrorist group that captured Tony Stark and had him held in Afghanistan, there was a banner behind them, and they were part of an army called the Army of the Ten Rings, which was a reference to the enemy, the Mandarin, who wears 10 magical rings. I think he's Chinese or some Asian descent.
Yeah, that's definitely what they displayed in the movie.
Anyways, let me finish. But so that got me really excited because the Mandarin was one of Tony's like big arch nemesis. He was one of like the super recurring, very, very powerful character in the Marvel universe. I don't know. Since Iron Man was always kind of like a B tier character before the Marvel Cinematic Universe came around and made him like almost a god. The Mandarin's not like a super awesome bad guy, but he was pretty much one of Tony's big bad guys that he would fight constantly. So I was always pretty excited to see, hopefully, that they would bring that kind of back into the movie, so we could see something a little more magical fighting against Tony with his technology, and just kind of how he would respond to something that's not as physical because he's a scientist. He obviously doesn't have any real faith in anything other than what he can see and touch, as we saw in Avengers. So that was why I was super excited hearing that the Mandarin was going to be in the third movie, and I was like, all right, this is going to be really good. And then they were talking about the other character that was going to be in there, what was his name, Aldrich Killian? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and I was like, okay, that's kind of weird that they're doubling up on bad guys, especially like such a big BA character like the Mandarin, because I mean he's kind of one of those that like pulls the strings, and I guess he'd be like a kingpin type of a character.
He's like a puppeteer.
Yeah. Yeah, so he kind of manipulates everything and tries to outwit Tony Stark. And I was getting the feeling like they were gonna touch on the Mandarin in this third movie, and then maybe just save him for like a fourth one, I guess. I don't know. But then all of a sudden, at like 2/3 of the way through, they just took a huge left turn, and the Mandarin isn't even really a character. He's just a guy that they hired to dress up with all of his rings and all this cool stuff that you thought was going to be going on. It was just all a big show.
He just turns out to be a big pothead, and that's exactly not what everything. He's just a guy who's an actor and thinks he's an actor and wants to become a better actor and a popular actor. To cover all angles of actors, if you don't know what an actor is, now you know. No, I mean, just they totally changed what the Mandarin was about. I mean, like, they had initial stability for him, where it was like, oh, he's a terrorist. He has all these tricks up his sleeve. He's always one step ahead of Tony. He's kind of like Sherlock Holmes is.
Oh, why can't I think of his name? Moriarty.
Yeah, Moriarty. He was Sherlock Holmes is Moriarty. Don't know why I referenced another Robert Downey Jr. movie, but I did. But in this movie, it turns out he turned out to be the comical relief in the movie, because the movie was getting pretty serious with Tony trying to find out who he was and what he wanted to be about. And when it got to the point of coming to meet the Mandarin and standing up to the big boss guy, it's like, really, this is it? This is the guy?
Mm-hmm.
You sure this is the guy? Am I punked or something? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So it was kind of another letdown. Like, that was kind of like one of the
that was my big problem with the movie, was just the way that they handled his character, and they kind of tried to save it at the end by Killian coming out and being like, no, I am the Mandarin, and he had like all these dragon tattoos on him and stuff, and like he was the one who was in charge of the terrorist group. But it felt like such a wasted opportunity, such a waste of a character that they could have saved for the future, should have had it in this movie. I mean, that was my one big complaint about the movie. And I mean, if you're not a comic book fan, it won't be a big deal. I mean, for the most part. But I mean, you wouldn't have gone in with the expectations of who this character is and what he's capable of. So maybe it's a little easier to swallow. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, being someone who's not as well versed in Iron Man lore?
Well, what was the question again?
Being someone who's not a big comic book fan, what did you go in expecting out of the Mandarin, and was it easier for you to accept that he was just kind of a shadowy figure that didn't really exist?
Well, honestly, I thought like it was. I didn't think he was ever going to find the Mandarin. I never thought it was going to become like a face-to-face thing. When I did think he was going to find him, I didn't think it was going to be like, oh, I'm going to go into his backyard and just, come to his house thing, which seemed like what it was.
It was.
Ben Kingsley, being the Mandarin, has always been like one of those eerie rules where like he can seem like such a badass, such like a soulless beast in the movies. Like, he has that glare that can like get right into your soul and just like, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna wipe my ass with your documentation kind of personality, But Ben Kingsley, he did a great job. It's just you didn't see it coming. I don't think it was his fault. I think it was the script. Obviously, you're starting to be able to see TaryntheHype here a little bit. Matt is definitely the hyped opinion. I have a little bit more the unhyped opinion about it. But it's the fact that he did a great job of his role. It's just that his role wasn't that great.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think it was because of the script. Because anytime he was the Mandarin character for the cameras and stuff, he was awesome. I thought he was a great choice. At first, when I heard Ben Kingsley was going to be playing him, I was like, what? That's a terrible choice. But seeing him on camera, I mean, you really, I don't know, I guess because I don't see that many Ben Kingsley films, I mean, I forget how good he actually is at portraying his characters. And he did such a great job playing, like you said, a ruthless character.
It makes you wonder if he was trying to become a method actor to get into the role a little bit, just sleeping with two women all the time.
Nothing wrong with that.
Hey, I gotta
do what you gotta do.
Hey, I'm really trying to research the role. How much do you cost?
Tax write-off.
Hey-o. Yeah, that's not right, but it's still pretty funny.
It's so funny. I don't care who you are right there.
No, I mean, he did a great job. I actually was surprised by Guy Pearce. I haven't seen him in a movie in a while. I mean, he has his moments here and there, but he's actually a very good actor as well. Now, his role was kind of like, okay, but you're kind of a little high on yourself, don't overdo it. He was stepping that boundary where it's over, but his character had the right to, without all the power he had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit of The Saint with Val Kilmer. Guy Pearce and Val Kilmer look a lot like to me. Not anymore because one's skinny and one's fat.
Yeah.
It's like,
but they
Val Kilmer ate Guy Pearce.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought he did a pretty good job. I don't know. The character of Killian I thought was all right. It felt like another like Obadiah Stane trying to come in with another technology company and take them over. So I don't know. That part kind of disappointed me a tad.
No, honestly, I didn't even consider that thinking about Obadiah at the end.
Yeah.
Like he's in the past to me. I didn't even think of the referencing back to him with the new technology. I did see it coming though, like from the very beginning when they first did the flashback. You could totally see.
Yeah, it made you feel all sympathetic that Tony was such a dick back in the day, and then.
Well, we all knew that. I mean, we've all seen the first movie or second
right.
movie at least once or twice, so we knew he was a dick. It was like before he even was a dick, we were like, oh, he's gonna be a dick to this guy, and we called it. We called the shots. We called what was gonna happen with Tony and how he's gonna act, and therefore we called the ending because it was kind of right out there in the open.
We saw, what was it, the Honest Trailers review where they compared the movie. You haven't seen it yet?
No.
All right, spoiler alert.
Damn it! Backfire.
So they animated the scene from when when Tony Stark got captured and he's like all chained up to the bedpost and stuff, about to get electrocuted and that kind of stuff. Kinky. Not really though. But and he was going into his long diatribe exposition, and then Tony's like, you know what? This is the same plot from The Incredibles, where back in the day I made fun of you and rejected you, and now you're my arch enemy in this, and you have me captured when I'm gonna break out in just a couple minutes.
You caught me monologuing.
Exactly. I mean, I didn't think about it to that point, but I mean, it's a very, I don't know, cookie cutter, generic supervillain type story. I don't know. I guess I expect more from supervillain origins, more than just, oh, you screwed me over, so now that I'm just powerful, I'm gonna come back and get you.
It's kind of gotten to the point where revenge is a cliche.
Yeah. I mean, there's reason for it. That's a given. But that kind of revenge, I don't know, seems kind of played out. But the one other issue that I kind of had was the way that they handled the Extremis itself. Now, my comic book knowledge of Extremis is fairly limited because I've only read a couple of the books where it was happening. But if I remember right, the way it's handled in the comics is it rewrites your DNA to make you, well, it can basically rewrite your DNA into any way it wants. And the organization that had it originally was trying to weaponize it. But then Tony injected it to himself, so that way he could interact with the Iron Man suit on a mental level, so he could control everything with his mind. I mean, they kind of had him do that technologically, but he basically went in and rewrote his entire genetic code and is able to control the suit with his thoughts. So he's able to like manifest all the suit, and later in the comics he's able to actually produce the suit out of his skin, which is kind of cool. But a lot of stuff,
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we can talk about that later if you're interested. But
why would you want to get rid of Jarvis like that? Come on, Jarvis is cool.
Oh no, Jarvis is still there, but he's more like what's the word? He's like
I have to ask you. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'll just finish real quick. But he's not like an android per se. He's like a modified human, I guess, because he's more. He has more control over his genetic code, and I was kind of disappointed that the only thing that they did with Extremis in the movie was that it was just a weapon and it was used to blow stuff up.
Harrison Ford comes out of the background, smashing through walls, Blade Runner style. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, now I had a question for you.
Okay.
You do know more about the lore than I do. Gwyneth Paltrow, Pepper Potts, does that ever happen in the comic?
What?
When she takes it on herself.
Takes what on?
The Extremis.
The Extremis? No, that didn't happen. At least not to my knowledge, because Tony Stark gave it to himself. He gave himself like a modified version of it, which allowed him to communicate with computers, like I said, like on a mental level. And so he basically turned himself into a living computer. That's kind of what I was going for. But no, Pepper never became, to my knowledge, she never actually took part in Extremis. Yeah.
Extremicized.
Yeah, extremicized.
Not ostracized.
But the one thing that did happen in the comics was after a lot of events happened, Tony Stark was kind of on the run, but he gave Pepper her own Iron Man suit So the suit was called Rescue because it was a non-weaponized type of Iron Man suit that only was there to help people, and so she became a superhero also, who wasn't like a weapon, and it was at a time when it made sense for
Right.
the canon of the story.
That was one of my follow-up questions that I was leading into. Is that like, do you think that they're trying to now? Did Iron Man ever have his whatever it's called removed?
I feel like I remember back a long time ago that he had all the shrapnel removed by maybe like Reed Richards or somebody, Doctor Strange. I don't remember. I feel like he had it all removed, so he didn't actually need the arc reactor in him.
Now, the reason I was asking that was I was wondering if maybe that's a new direction you think they're trying to take the series into, to where Pepper Potts is becoming, instead of Iron Man being the one that has the, what's it called again? Where he injected himself with the
Extremis?
Extremis, that's right. Where Iron Man doesn't inject himself with the Extremis per se, but Pepper Potts does have it. And she was wearing the suit a lot more in this movie.
She was.
I mean, it wasn't, she didn't do good at it, but she didn't do bad either. I mean,
Right.
It's just that I wonder if they're trying to take it into a new direction, where it's kind of like its own new series. I mean, this is the movies. We're following the comics ideas, but we're kind of making the movies be more something fun and new. So.
Christian, stay in and close the door. Close the door.
Spoilers.
Spoilers, that's my son.
But yeah, to your point, they're definitely taking the Marvel Cinematic Universe as kind of an offshoot from the comics. It's inspired by the comics, but it doesn't directly follow it. Because, like I said, I mean, Extremis ended up being something that was used to benefit Tony Stark as opposed to being just purely about weaponizing people. Pepper never got treated with it. And the other big thing was that Iron Patriot, who actually, that was the part that was bugging me back in the day, but watching it in the movie, it was actually kind of cool to see him.
It was fun seeing them battle back and forth. I'm just going to interject that. I really enjoyed Don Cheadle a little bit more than Terrence Howard as War Machine. I'm not going to use his other crappy name, Iron Patriot. War Machine. War Machine rocks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's definitely a lot better choice.
And
Terrence Howard was a good actor, but I think Don Cheadle does the job a lot better.
Right, Terrence Howard has a more military look to him, but Don Cheadle has a better chemistry with Robert Downey Jr.
He's got the right attitude for the thing. He just doesn't have the physique for it, unfortunately.
Exactly, but I mean, it was fun watching them go back and forth, like cracking jokes and saying little tidbits here and there. They had good chemistry on the screen for sure.
Right, but I mean, the obvious thing that they diverted from the comics is that the Iron Patriot armor was actually worn by Norman Osborn after, again, a whole other series of events when Norman Osborn became the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. And he created his own kind of bastardized version of the Avengers and had himself as the head of it with an Iron Man suit that was modeled after Captain America's colors to kind of try to unite the two into one character. So it was kind of bittersweet seeing Iron Patriot on screen because he was kind of cool, and the suit looks great, but it was just kind of sad knowing that it wasn't going to be worn by Norman Osborn in the appropriate kind of chronological timeline, if you will. But I mean, I can appreciate what they're doing with the movies, trying to make it their own, because obviously there's decades and decades of canon that they're trying to kind of compete with, and there's no way that they can ever satisfy everybody because. I mean, you could look at the first movie and be like, oh, well, if you look at the original appearance of Iron Man, he wasn't in Afghanistan, he was here. Or, they kind of make it more relevant to the times, and I don't know. I guess I'm okay with them kind of taking their own path now after seeing Iron Man 3, and I was disappointed with some of the things that they did, like I said, but I still really enjoyed the movie. I mean, even with my issues with it, it's still not enough for me to dislike it or be against the Marvel universe as a whole. I'm still very excited for all the things that they have planned and coming up. So
yeah, well, I mean, that's about says it all, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up for us now. That was Iron Man 3 Spoilercast. We didn't spoil too much for you, but we did spoil a few things. We'll work on that. Make sure we ruin it more for you next time. But guys, this has been a Taryn the Hype podcast. I mean, you also read more information about it on the website TaryntheHype.com, and that's Taryn Taryn, not Taryn like Taryn paper. Taryn it up, which is what we're doing at Taryn the Hype podcast. Always. Now, my name is Taryn Schliebe. You can follow me at Augie272. You can follow the website Taryn the Hype at Taryn the Hype on Twitter. And you can follow Matt.
At KrillinFlip337, Krillin with a C.
Krill with a C. Correct. Now, we will be having more video podcasts for you guys coming up soon, so keep your eyes posted. This will be on YouTube, and you can always check it back out again on Ustream. Come and chat with us next time. You can always jump in on these things. They are live. They are recorded instantly. You can write in the chat, say what your opinion is while we're talking about our opinions. It's good fun times. Guys, we'll see you in the future. Be safe, and don't break your suits. Iron Man, he broke his suit again.
Okay, fair enough. That was fun.
Yeah.
I remember to